Hey everyone, I am going to teach you guys once again how to create a recipe in MyFitnessPal. I know that this is not the easiest thing for a lot of people, and in my experience you do have to practice it quite a few times before you actually really get it. It's like a light bulb moment happens, and all of a sudden after trying quite a few times, all of a sudden you get it. So my advice for creating a recipe in MyFitnessPal is to make it as accurate as possible. You need to measure the entire recipe once it is done cooking, and then you change your number of servings to the total weight of the recipe. And that way, when you get your own individual serving, you will automatically have it calculated to the correct calories, carbs, fat, protein, and fiber, which is very important, of course. It's much more accurate to create your recipe this way than it is to say, for example, have maybe 10 servings. Maybe you don't know if it's going to be 10 exact servings in the case of today's recipe, which is chili. So step number one in determining the accuracy, I have my food scale here. You guys can't see it, but it's just off to my side here. This is the insert that goes inside of my crock pot. So step number one is to record the weight of my dish. So I'm just putting the entire weight onto my food scale, and I can see that it's 786 grams. Of course, my marker would run out. I'm just going to get another pen. Once again, 786 grams. Now, the reason that I'm recording that is because when the dish is completed, I'm going to weigh the entire thing with all of the chili in it. So I've gotten a little bit ahead of myself in preparation for this today. And what I mean by that is I've already pre-cut and opened my cans and all of those great things. So the first thing I'm going to do is put an empty container onto my scale and zero that out. And my first ingredient that I'm going to add is my peppers. So I open up MyFitnessPal, and I can show you guys this as I do it. I am going, there's MyFitnessPal right on my home screen. I'm going into more. If you've got an iPhone, this is familiar. If you've got an Android, it's going to be ever so slightly different. I'm scrolling down to my recipes, meals, and foods. And then I'm going to, at the very bottom, create a recipe. I'm going to add ingredients manually every single time. I'm never going to add the ingredients from the web because chances are I'm going to use different brands than whatever website recommends it for me. So I'm going to call this chili, and I am going to say for now that it's 1 serving. I'm going to go in later and I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to change the number of servings to reflect the total weight of the recipe. So clicking next, it wants me to add each ingredients. So I'm starting with USDA red bell peppers. And the reason I do USDA red bell peppers is because any fruit, vegetable, or meat is all going to have the exact same nutrition based on the weight. So 100 grams of red bell peppers from Canada, they're going to be the exact same nutritional information as 100 grams of red bell peppers from the USA. So USDA red bell pepper, and I can see that I had 214 grams. So I'm going to find one with the green check mark that says 100 grams. And because I have 214 grams, it's 2.14 servings of 100 grams. So I'm going to check mark that and then go in to add my next ingredient. The next ingredient that I'm going to add is a can of diced tomatoes because I love diced tomatoes. Now, if you have an iPhone as well, you've got a scan option down here. If you have an Android, your scan option would be up here. It just looks like a little barcode. You could see that down there at the bottom. So I'm going to click on scan. I'm going to go ahead and scan my image, scan my barcode on the can, but immediately it's going to tell me 1 serving, but I know that I don't want 1 serving, I want the whole can. So if I click on serving size up at the top, I can change the serving from 1 serving to 1 container. So that's what I'm going to do because I plan to use the entire can. So check mark that, get rid of my lid, dump the entire can into my bowl. I got everything out there. Grab a towel here. And then add another ingredient. Scan again. I'm going to scan a big can of brown beans. I like all sorts of beans in my chili because I like the taste of brown beans, but I also really like the fiber and the protein content of black beans and lentils. So once again, I scanned the brown beans and it automatically defaulted to 1 serving, but I'm going to click on serving size and I'm going to make it 1 container, and I'm going to add that. So bear with me while I do that. I am making this today in my crock pot pressure cooker, which is just like an instant pot. So I don't have to worry about pre-cooking the beef. It's all going to cook together. So the next ingredient that I'm going to add are my dried black beans. Normally I would pre-soak these, but because I am cooking these in the pressure cooker, I don't have to pre-soak them. I just have to add water and they are going to cook together. Just grab a knife here, open up my bag, and once again I've got the container on my scale. I'm zeroing out the container. I'm adding my black beans. I have no particular amount that I want to add. I'm making a huge crock pot, so I'm actually going to add quite a bit. I got 308 grams. So add ingredient, scan. It automatically defaults to 1 serving, and 1 serving is 100 grams. So if I click on that serving size, I can change it to 1 gram, and then I can change it to 308 because I had exactly 308 grams of black beans. So I'll go ahead and add those. Next are lentils. Once again, lentils are extremely high in both protein and fiber. So that's why I want to add lentils to my chili. And I do like the dried ones. They're just really cheap, like really, really, really cheap. This whole bag is like 25 servings or something like that, and it was like $3. So if you're not onto the dried beans, might I recommend you give them a try. I'm going to add a good amount of lentils as well because they are even more macro friendly than black beans. I got 214 grams. So open up my scanner again. I'm still adding the recipe. So scan, it automatically defaults to 1 serving. So I'm going to click on the serving size, change it to 1 gram, and then I'm going to put in my 215 grams because that's how much I actually used. The next ingredient that I have is my chili seasoning. So let me add ingredient, scan the whole package. It automatically, once again, defaults to 1 serving. So instead, I'm going to change that to 1 container. Dump the whole thing of chili powder, chili seasoning in there because chili seasoning is delicious and I want the whole thing. And then my final ingredient is going to be my beef. I wasn't sure exactly how much beef I would have. I have this great big container of it. Normally, if you buy just 1 package of beef, it'll tell you right on the package how much you're actually using, but I have this great big package. I'm not going to use the whole thing in the recipe, but I am going to use a fair amount. So I've got my container on my food scale, and I'm zeroing it out. It's already at 0 because I've already used that. And I'm adding my ground beef. I'm going to add a hefty amount because I would really like for there to be a good amount of protein in my chili. Protein and fiber in chili is very easy to achieve. And all right, so that is, well, I'm at 950. I may as well try to get straight to 1,000 grams. That'll make it easy. Just gonna add a touch more to get right to that 1,000. I got over 1,005, so I'm gonna put a little bit back, 1,001. I'm gonna put a touch back. And bam, 1,000. I'm just gonna wash my hands. Or rinse them anyways. I'm just gonna rinse them for the sake of time. So 1,000 grams. Now, I can also scan that. Now, if I weren't able to scan it because of the package, I could just search up USDA lean ground beef. This is not extra lean, it's just lean, which is okay. So add ingredient, scan, and It ought to, oh, no match found, that's fine. So I got this beef from the Superstore. So I am just going to look for Superstore lean ground beef. I try to be as accurate as possible with the description when I am looking for a food. So accurate meaning using the actual store that I bought the food for. So Superstore lean ground beef. I specify lean, and there's one with a check mark, so I know that one's accurate. It automatically defaulted to 100 grams. I have 1,000, so I know that's 10 servings of 100, and add that. So that's all of my ingredients. The only thing that I need to add is some water so that those beans are able to absorb the water and not be hard in my chili. So bear with me while I grab some water. Beans are just like rice, so if you are adding water, then what you really want to do is add at least the same amount of water as you did beef. Now the last step is just to mix it all up a little bit so that when it cooks evenly. I want to make sure that the beef is mixed up. I want to make sure it's not in one big chunk. I want to make sure that the seasoning gets all the way around. So I'm just going to give it a really good stir. And I will check on this halfway through to see if it needs any more water. Actually, I do want to get ahead of that because for the sake of time, if anything, it might be a little bit of a watery chili. That's okay. I don't mind that one bit. So the very last step when you're creating a recipe is to weigh the entire recipe, and that is going to be the number of servings. So if you remember, I started this off with 1 serving, but I'm actually going to edit that. So now I am going to zero out my scale, add the entire bowl with all of the ingredients in here, and I get that it is 4,834 grams. Now I did write down the weight of the dish itself, so I'm going to deduct the 786 grams, and that gives me, just bear with me, let me do some math. Actually, I'll just do it on my phone because that's going to be a lot easier for me and a lot less time consuming. So once again, I've got 4,834, take away 786. So my total is 4,048 grams. So I'm going to go back into the recipe. I haven't completed it yet. Down here at the bottom, I can click on the recipe itself, and it's telling me to put in the number of servings. Now, I am new to iPhone, and I recently discovered that you can only go up to 100 servings. So I'm going to save this under 1 serving. And the last step that I am going to do in creating this recipe is, oh no, actually when I hit the next arrow, I am able to change the serving size. So I'll go back. So here are all the ingredients. I've added each individual ingredient, and then I'm clicking the arrow at the top right, and then it's giving me the opportunity before I save the recipe to change the number of servings. So I'm going to type in 4048 and save. Now it looks a little funny because it says that it's only 1 calorie and that it's only 0 fat, 0.1 carb, and 0.1 protein. So everybody thinks that they've done it wrong at this point, but you haven't done it wrong. In fact, the best way to do it is this way, because then the next step, once my recipe is cooked, it's not cooked right now, so I can't show you this, but once the recipe is cooked, I would just put my bowl on here, zero it out, I would add my recipe. Let's just pretend that this can is actual chili. So I'm going to add it. It says that I have 119 grams. So if I go into my food diary, so now I'm into my diary down at the bottom, and I click on add food. Now, if I click at the top at recipes, there's the chili right at the very top, or I can search my recipes. I can type in chili. If I change this number of servings to be the number of grams, so once again, I have 119 grams, so I'm going to make it look like I had 119 servings. It automatically calculated everything for me. 139 calories, 14.2 grams of carbs, and out of those carbs, 4 grams of fiber, 4.9 grams of fat, and 10.5 grams of protein. chili is super macro friendly. So that's why I wanted to show you guys this as an example of how to create a recipe. If you think that you've done it wrong because it's telling you once you change the number of servings to the total weight of the recipe, just know you haven't done it wrong. If it says 0 for carbs, fat, and protein, that means that you've done it exactly right. When you put in your actual serving that you actually ate, it's going to calculate everything for you so that your calories, protein, carbs, fat, and fiber are all accurate. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions at all about how to create a recipe, I encourage you to practice, practice, practice. It took me quite a few times before I really understood it, but hopefully seeing me do it this way is helpful for you. And a little bit later, I will add a video of myself actually getting my individual serving of chili, and I'll add it on to the end of this video so you can see exactly what that looks like. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having such a great day.